Caleb Shaw joins us for the week.
Man, that intro went fast. I don't know if I was ready yet.
We'll talk elections. We'll see what Caleb's been up to. We'll talk Major League Baseball. The World Series is set. All that and more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
Show is a paid programming, and KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show. Before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1.
Howdy, YouTubers. YouTuber, all one of you.
Hey, it's one more than what I got. About like 25 viewers.
Let's do this.
Hey, good morning.
It is Monday, my friend.
How are you?
I'm making it. I'm here.
Good. How's everything?
It's good. I've got a wife that takes care of me and gets me going in the morning, and so life is good.
So you're
brother.
able to be here, and I appreciate you stepping in and filling in this week,
You know, you
or
almost,
most of it anyway.
yeah, you owe her as much of the thanks as you do me.
I do.
Because, man, if it wasn't for her, I don't think I could do it.
Thanks, Tiffany. Appreciate it.
She's a good one.
She is. Let's do this. Wade and Carter Weather brought to you by Deerland Feed Store. For everything you need, Deerland Feed is the place to go. I had to pick up some hay the other day. Got in there, got it. Great price. Bigger bales than what you can get somewhere else.
Cheaper, in and out.
They let me know that right now a lot of issues with army worms. So if you're getting ready, the field's ready for your winter grasses, you want to take care of them. They've got the stuff you need to take care of your army worms as well. So, and then they've got your grass seed for the winter. So get by Deerland Feed. Weather today 75. Still foggy when you rolled in.
It was very much so, and humid.
So be careful for the fog, and we're going to get up to around 90 degrees later today.
Another cool fall evening.
That's
or fall
exactly
day, huh?
what we're dealing with.
89, 90. Nice.
Yeah, I wish. Fall
I
was here on Friday for,
like 10 minutes.
yeah, more or less.
I didn't even put up Halloween decorations this year because I'm like, no, not when it's 89, 90 degrees. I'm not doing it.
Just doesn't feel like it,
No,
does it?
it doesn't feel right. 90 degrees in Halloween. So,
And it's snowing back home.
what do you think of the new Facebook thing?
I'm still not quite used to
Yeah,
it. It's getting a little better, but
I struggle with it. I'm watching you this time to see how you do things because
oh, don't do
I
that.
try to emulate you here and I don't ever get it right.
Don't do that.
I need to figure out how to get as many viewers as you guys do as well too.
So here's all checking in. It's all about the liking and the sharing is what I've been told. So
Well, you guys do a
we
great
do
job.
that right now.
You do a great job.
So how's everything in your world since last you arrived on these shores and co-hosted for a while? I think that was back in the summer.
Yeah, with you. Yeah, because you were gone last time and I was with Brent. And yeah, man, we've just been busy. It's I thought things might slow down a tad and they just haven't. I mean, we are just slammed, but it's such a blessing. And so we'll take it all day long and we're just very blessed. Very blessed.
Good. Look at that. Matt Boucher says long range forecast is warmer and a drier winter. So we may not have much of a Christmas, or it might not feel like Christmas.
Thinking road trip.
Yeah, no kidding. You might have to.
Yep. Go to Colorado or something.
Yeah, right now though, man. You spend a lot of time up there. I've got friends up there. They're a few miles from the fire, but they've been told be ready to go.
Yeah, that's scary.
I can't even imagine. I mean, similar to a hurricane, I would imagine, and the anxiety and the stress. But boy, oh boy.
Yeah, we drove through there a couple of years ago when part of the state was on fire, and you could see the smoke line and all. And it was a very eerie feeling when you're driving down the highway and you could see it in the distance. It was kind of spooky and like something out of a horror movie almost.
I've never driven. I've seen a grass fire fairly close, but nothing to the forest fires as we used to call them back home, or the wildfires like happening in California and Colorado. But I had friends in Fort McMurray, Alberta, when they had the fire a few years ago it stopped across the street.
Yeah, that's scary.
Their house was okay. The street, the other side of the street was destroyed. by the fires. And they had to drive out through it.
No, I'd rather take my chances with water, I think, than I would fire.
Yeah.
Fire is just a lot less forgiving to me.
Matt Boucher, good morning to you. Judge Posey, Marvin Mickish, Bobby Leister, 297 YouTubers in an explosion over the weekend.
Jeez, man, you guys are jumping up there.
Almost at 300. Karen Webb, good morning.
297. Good job.
Justin Glass, Chris Conrad. Maybe they like the simple production value of the YouTube. I don't know.
YouTube's rough. I have not figured out the YouTube. We're rocking along at like 68 viewers or something. So good job on that.
Well, we've got 297 subscribers, but I think this
Well, that's what I meant.
we have one viewer.
Not viewers. I have never hit
subscribers aren't translating to viewers.
Yeah, but at least you got them. That's the trick. You know.
Justin Glass, good morning. Chris Conrad, Patrick Strauss, Dave Garza, Sheriff Lauterbach, H.R. Mallory is in. James Kerr says this is definitely not pumpkin spice weather, and he's okay with that.
I'm okay with that too. I miss the cool weather, but not the pumpkin spice.
David Glass, good morning. BJ Nelson says hi to Caleb.
Good
Good morning to you, BJ. So, huge Trump caravan over the weekend. I didn't take part in it, but I know Brent did, and many others did, judging by the videos I've seen, the photos that have been posted, and yet almost silence in other local media. The Advocate covered it fairly well. The TV station, I don't know, was even there from what I haven't seen and gathered, but
the TV station's had a different feel to it here lately. It seemed like it was starting to try to find its way there a little bit when the Advocate was really at the peak of not having its pulse on the community, and then all of a sudden it's like the Advocate had this opening and Crossroads had this opening, and then they just started posting CNN articles over and over and over again, but I think it's the clickbait. They throw out a CNN headline that goes totally kind of against the population, and they get 10,000 comments, but they post something that aligns with the community and nothing.
Lisa Poole, good morning. Scott Snow checking in. H.R. Mallory says it's definitely not Han Solo season.
Yes.
Han Solo or Han Solo? Which way did you?
I'd say Han
Yeah,
Solo.
that might be the American pronunciation.
Han Solo.
It was Han Solo in Canada.
Han Solo. Yeah, I'm a Han Solo guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's
Just
not Han
curious.
Solo war there, but it cracks me up though, because you get 189.2, and the girls are busting around. But I don't blame them.
Friday was that day.
They got cute clothes. They want to wear them.
James Kerr says since Jeff Pryor has left KVU, it's been rolling down fast.
It's
Yeah,
been
Jeff had a
different
pretty
feel.
steady hand on that station and the community, and was really in tune with the pulse of the community for the 20 plus years that he was there, and hung up the mic. Didn't have the microphone. Hung up the GM's vest and said, "See ya." So, everybody's got to retire, but yeah, it's
It's been a little different.
a lot of changes. Don Brubaker no longer on the sports desk. He now anchors the 6 o'clock news. So, there's some changes over there. But Don, I talked to Don. He's kind of happy with the change. It fits his lifestyle better. That's a tough grind.
What I
When
say,
you're up late.
my criticism has mainly been the social media side of things. I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of television or local television, so I haven't seen it, but the social media side of it has been different to me.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
Richard King checking in from Minot, North Dakota, where it's 19 degrees. You can have it, Richard. You can have it.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
It's got to be a balance.
Yeah, I'm definitely not complaining that it's 75 and going to hit almost 90 here today.
Yeah, not when I see that. Not when I see that.
But we're at the time of year, though, where the evenings are nice.
Yes.
You can sit outside. You're not sweating.
Except for the mosquitoes and gnats. What is the deal? Those things have just not gone away this season.
See, I'm lucky out where I am, out of the 2-4. I don't know what the reason is. Even when the rains have come, they haven't boomed, but a lot of dragonflies. Haven't seen a lot of bats.
Now, see, I've been the inverse of that. Maybe I got a water pit or something I don't know about, because it's been mosquitoes and gnats just all around my neighborhood lately.
But yeah, we've been pretty lucky up there. There's Charlie Vegas, CVEG checking in. Good morning to you, sir. I know you've had a rough spell health-wise, but I'm glad you're checking in and hope you're doing better. We were worried about you for a while. Dodgers win last night, 4-3. I went to bed a little bit early and turned it off. It was the Braves up 3-2, so the Dodgers came back to win it. So we're gonna have a Dodgers, Tampa Bay Rays World Series. Does that excite anybody?
I'm gonna go with no. Except for me, I'm pumped about that. But otherwise, no.
Astros fans are a little upset.
Yeah,
I know you're just a baseball fan in general.
I'm faking my way through this. Is it 7 games they play in the World Series? Kind of like that.
Yep.
Sports.
All played in Arlington this year. What is Globe Life Park? I think it's where the bubble is.
Are they having the big declining numbers like all the other sports?
I don't know. I honestly haven't checked the ratings for baseball. I was watching the Astros. I didn't watch last night. I kind of kept up with it, but I was reading and didn't watch it. I'll probably watch the World Series because it's the World Series, but I'm not really enamored with.
Have they gone down the social justice trail as the other sports have?
They did, and they kind of backed it off pretty quickly. I think they realized that, oops, this isn't a good marketing ploy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you saw the NBA walk it back. I mean, their commissioner came out and said, no more of this on our court and our jerseys next year.
Well, that's what I wanted to know, because if they didn't, then it kind of got rid of the excuse that it wasn't the social justice. It was something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, the first little bit baseball kind of did, and then they backed off. And, I saw Astros fans starting to come back, and those that had sworn it off were posting about the Astros as the playoffs were moving on. So, I was never one of those to say, the heck with it, not going to watch it. But I'll be honest. I think the Astros, when the cheating scandal came out, that flipped a little bit of a switch for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's, stealing signs is inherent in baseball. It always happens. I think they took it to a level that maybe crossed a bit of a line.
I mean, and it sucks even more when it's your team that does it, because I can talk trash on everybody else if your team did the cheating. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of cheating much.
Yeah. So that one struggled. Steve Kidder says Romeo Crennel going for 2 to try to put the game out of reach. Good call, bad call. You know what? I'll be honest, didn't watch any NFL yesterday. Cowboys weren't playing. I saw the Texans, unless he's referring to the Texans, who lost in overtime.
I was cleaning out a storage room all day yesterday. So we never even turned our TV on. It just gathered dust all day. So yeah, it was a busy work day at the Shaw House.
But the Texans are they're just bad. I don't know how else to put it. They fired their coach. They got to win. Now they're right back where they were, finding ways to lose instead of finding ways to win.
Well, that seems like the Cowboys. Every time I get suckered into turning on the TV, let me just peek and see what they're doing, and I'll turn it on right when they have an interception, run back 99.9 yards on them or something, and I'm just, man, I'm gonna keep the TV turned off.
And let's be honest. Cowboys' 2 wins have been against teams that have no wins. I don't know if the Giants or the Falcons won yesterday, but they haven't exactly been beating up the league's best in their 2 wins, and yet they lead the division. They play Arizona tonight. That could be an interesting game. We'll see if Kyler Murray can stay in the game. I know Baker Mayfield got pulled against the Steelers. The Steelers absolutely destroyed the Browns. So.
Is he pretty solid?
He's been pretty solid.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when he was at OU and everybody was on his hype train. But he seems like a pretty good quarterback. I just don't watch him, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's certainly. There were a lot of people going, "Oh, Jesus, this is Johnny Manziel 2.0," but no, I don't think you've got that. Those issues. The league obviously doesn't think that, because they put him front and center with a lot of marketing campaigns and things. So. But I think, they still don't have all the pieces he needs to be successful week in, week out.
Gotcha.
But I didn't watch any NFL yesterday. Watched a little bit of college football Saturday. Saw Alabama absolutely destroyed Georgia in the second half. It was a good first half of a football game. Kind of became a bit of a yawner.
Are they on a normal season? Are they on to normal season and all that good stuff with COVID?
No, because the Pac-12 hasn't started playing yet. I don't think the Big Ten has kicked off a game yet. So no.
Gotcha.
It's, the SEC is playing, Big 12 playing, schedules have been modified, shortened. I struggle with how you have a team that hasn't played a game and they're still in your top 10 in your rankings.
Sounds like they need Allen's Record Service to come pull them out of the ditches.
Maybe
there.
so.
Did you see my Brent segue there? That was and I think I even hit the time, didn't I?
You did.
Hey,
578.
Look at me go.
6,300 is the number to call Allen's.
And if you don't have a phone, you can always call it BCS, Rocket Oil Field Services, AT&T, the Hartmans over there.
They can hook you up with a phone.
They've been taking care of me. They've got
Have they?
radios. Yeah, I'm taking my truck back over there next weekend to get some more cool stuff installed. They've done a great job and just been all over it for me. Awesome people.
And they can do things that you may not even think that they can do. We had some people ask us, "Hey, do you think they'll do this?" Call them, and sure enough,
yeah, no,
they're doing it for them.
They like work. I've had some weird requests lately. Some, hey, just in case Armageddon comes, I want to be prepared for some stuff. And they didn't even bat an eye or look at me. They may have when I left and like, this guy's crazy, but they took wonderful care of me.
See, Vague gives you a shout out on the segue.
Hey, thank you. I'm really working on these. These are big shoes to fill.
Chesnick Furniture Company, 116 West One Lynn, beautiful downtown Victoria. There's a little bit more happening downtown. Have you noticed? Bethune and Son moved down there. Texian Books is down there now.
Mm-hmm.
I know Vela Farms has moved down the road a little bit. So there's some things happening downtown, and through it all, Chesnick Furniture has been down there for 100 years in downtown Victoria. 70 years in their current location, right there at Wan Lynn, across from the police station. 50% off all furniture. They've got a great selection of furniture. Christmas is just around the corner.
It's about that
If
time.
you're going to do a bunch of entertaining, furniture's looking a little outdated. The sofa sags a little bit.
You know it's time.
It's time.
Go over there and get you some good furniture at a good price. They've been doing this a long time.
Even
to get you fixed up.
Even if you don't lay on the sofa for between now and Christmas, that sag that's there from your heavy butt laying on there all the time ain't going away.
And neither is your big old butt, so you might as well get a couch so you can hold it.
Exactly. Or a nice new recliner. 50% off all furniture at Chesnick Furniture as they celebrate 100 years in business. And Veracruz Restaurant opens up again today. They were closed. They're closed this week. I forgot because the Caballeros are gone as well. I was told they were closed this week. So you're going to have to wait to satisfy your great Mexican food cravings until next week.
Well, go get the couch so at least you'll have that part ready.
Exactly.
Then you can go hard when they open back up.
James Kerr says Fauci says no to Thanksgiving.
I'm about over Fauci. I'm about this. It's just another channel on the soap opera. It seems like, that got a little bit of notoriety. Will ignore all. Anyway, yeah, he kind of just gets on my nerves.
Yeah, he's kind of enjoyed the celebrity a little bit, hasn't he?
I feel that's what I feel like is like he is enjoying the spotlight rather than being the doctor. And it's like just be the doctor. You don't have to do all the interviews and all his cool photo ops where he's standing there looking all tough and stuff. Mine never turned out that cool. Dr. Fauci doesn't need one. I never looked that good in mine.
But I almost get a sense he's been there for a long time. He goes back to the Reagan administration, working in I don't know if he was the position he is in now, but he's been working.
I think he predates me, that's for
yeah.
sure.
But I've seen some black and whites with wide collars and big glasses and, comb overs. So it had to be the late 70s, early 80s.
But you're a rock star. You say one thing against Trump and the rest of the media will lift you up and make you a celebrity.
But I almost get a sense he's sort of auditioning for his next role when he's out at the CDC. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Media commentator.
Yeah. No, that's exactly kind of what I get a sense that he's doing here.
If you go out and throw bombs at Trump, it seems to secure your next career field afterwards.
It kind of does. Speaking of which, I know you saw Jake Tapper's interview with Laura Trump,
yes,
daughter-in-law to the president.
I'll tell you, we are just at a place where I think things that we don't. How does the media ever hold its head up again and act serious, or how are we ever supposed to? I think this whole deal. Yes, we've had this huge potential revelation with the Hunter Biden stuff, and I'm a follow the evidence guy, and so I'm not going to leap to premature conclusions, but to see to me, the almost bigger story is the censorship here and the media just refuse. This is your job to report a story.
Yeah.
It's your job, not report the stories you like or dislike, but report the stories. And the fact that you have this huge breaking story and we're not even going to touch it.
Well, the media is not touching it to the extent that it probably needs to. Google, Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah,
censoring it, which I know there's some
New York
hearings this
Post.
week on that I believe are going to be in both the House and the Senate.
their Twitter, they're still locked out of their Twitter. You know, they blocked down on
Yeah.
them and said they have to delete the post to be able to get access to their Twitter account back.
And my understanding is Section 230 violates commerce laws and not media laws. But they're gonna quickly find out that they don't. I don't believe when this is all said and done, they're gonna have the protections that they've claimed they've had because of they claim to be a platform rather than media yet. And I got to thinking over the weekend too with the whole Twitter thing and the blocking of the New York Post, because something was off on that. When think about it, if you post something and then all of a sudden the fact checkers check it and they don't like it, they may remove it and they put up a little disclaimer, right? But it's after the fact that it's been posted.
Mm-hmm.
They had to have been tipped off because they were blocking this thing from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Post was not allowed to post these things on Twitter at all. They didn't get them out there, and then all of a sudden they pulled the content. They couldn't post the content.
And now you can't even, they took it so far as even DMs. You couldn't even send it in DMs. You couldn't send the link. I mean, it's been a total blackout. And that to me is just the scariest thing of all, that the media, I mean, we've all known there's a media bias, you know, but to see them go to the links that they are with this and not even hiding that they're covering it up, that they just don't like a negative Biden story. And a huge one at that potentially has the potential to be one of the biggest stories in American history. I mean, what was it, over $1 billion that they're looking at the Chinese government paid? And
yeah,
you know, and
1.5, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, this. Can you imagine if this was reversed and it was Trump and it was his kids and say Fox News and everybody else just somehow buried it? I mean, people would be losing their minds. This would be just rightfully so.
They've been losing him for 4 years that the president's been elected as president, but they would be going even more squirrely than they are now. I agree completely. And to me, this is the collusion.
Mm-hmm.
The media no longer is the media. They aren't the checks and balances as the First Amendment, as they always claim that the First Amendment allows them to be. They are lockstep with the Democrat Party and the left side of the political spectrum. And I mean, that's it. There's no.
Well, that Jake Tapper interview that you mentioned was one of the just more odd things that I've seen. You know, they went back 10 or 11 months and they found Laura Trump, wasn't it? Is that her name? Mm-hmm. Laura Trump talking about his, you know, or saying, come on, Joe, get the words out, this and that. And they turned that into, well, you're making fun of his speech impediment that he stutters. And then they found a little kid to come on and they played a little video of a kid talking about how much Joe Biden's stuttering has helped him be stronger. And then lead into the interview with, you know, how do you like making fun of people that stutter and all this and making fun of Joe? And then when she points out that it's a cognitive, no, I think he's slipping. He's losing it mentally. Oh, that's it. We're shutting it down. You're not a doctor. How dare you say these things? And
But Jake Tapper can make the same claims against the president.
That was my thought.
And nobody
5
questions.
minutes ago, you guys gave a full medical diagnosis of him, and it was wrong. You know, and oh my God, the hypocrisy.
You didn't believe any of the COVID stuff he was telling you, but because now Jake Tapper, you're a doctor.
And I guess you know. So I've asked a few of my friends that lean left, you know, does this interest you at all? And, you know, no. And they want to go back to, well, you know, Trump, why don't you care that Trump called the troops losers and this and that? And, you know, okay, well, 17 people were on that trip, half of which did not like Trump. And they said it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you're quoting anonymous sources, one of which is a friend of somebody that heard it. And I'm supposed to watch, you know, you stand behind it. Somebody walk out there and give me your name and say, I heard this, and I will listen. But this anonymous source stuff is garbage. But here we are with the crap pipe hanging out of the guy's mouth. You know, the verified emails. One of the person on the email chain said, these are legit. No, false story, not going to touch it. And it's banned across. Yeah. I mean, that's scary. Sorry, it gets me all fired up.
Well, the hypocrisy, what this is no different than the whole Clinton Foundation pay to play, and that just quietly disappeared.
As soon as she went out of office, the Clinton Foundation dries up on donations.
And it absolutely irks me that it's so obvious to everybody except for those in Washington, D.C. And this is the problem with Washington, D.C. Because there's plenty on the right that get the same free pass.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the two most glaringly obvious episodes in recent memory.
Well, they go over there making less money than we do, and they come home multi-millionaires.
Yeah.
You know, and it's an odd. And here it seems we finally potentially have an actual smoking gun, not Russian propaganda. Well, no. It's already Russia. They're not investigating the story, from what I hear. They're investigating Russians giving it to Giuliani. This is all Russia. There's nothing to see here. Russia, folks.
No.
I just. This is what scares me. Again, take everything else out of the election, Biden, Trump, all this. Like the fact that we as Americans cannot get honest news anymore, and it's so biased how it's fed to us. It's scary.
Well, Twitter said, well, we can't run the New York Post story because they were given hacked emails.
Mm-hmm.
They verified them, but you allowed the New York Times story about Donald Trump's taxes when we know those were fraudulently given to the New York Times. But the same standard didn't exist. And I think that standard, or that lack of standard, living up to that same standard, is what's going to trip them up in these hearings coming up over the next week or so. Because I think Twitter, I think that's this week that the CEO of Twitter will be before Congress.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how that all plays out, because this, I mean, again, this is just, I almost have no words. I mean, it's to a level that it almost makes me speechless.
What irks me, though, is the evidence of the censorship with Google. It started with Facebook way back when, and now Facebook looks like they're on the right side of the spectrum on all this stuff. I mean, who would have thought Zuckerberg? But I think he's realizing, oops, my fortune could go away if I don't start, acting better.
I like the circular reporting. The story comes out and the Biden campaign says it's false. Well, then Twitter says, well, they said it's false. So it's false. Well, then the Biden campaign comes out and says, well, Twitter said it was false. So, and it's a circular, they use each other as their references to just, there's their fact checking and their, how did they fact check this before, preemptively fact check this and false before? I don't like it.
No, it really frustrates me as someone who grew up in the media and believes in the media and what the media is there for. And it just,
you would think any reporter in the world would want a piece of this story, that would want to expose that this could potentially be an American, just a huge story that goes down with Watergate and stuff. And yet, we're going to just ignore the story and go after Trump every day.
Well, because there's more celebrity status to be had by bashing the president than exposing themselves for what they have become.
So how do we go back?
Because they'll become a pariah.
I agree. But how do we, knowing that that's where we play in the system now, how come November 4th do we flip it back? Either way, whenever Trump wins, we know we're going to be lied to for another 4 years. And if he doesn't win, we know we're going to be lied to for another 4 years. Everything Biden does is great. We're stupid if we don't get it.
If Biden wins, a lot of the problems in this country will all of a sudden disappear.
Yeah.
Because they've been manufactured by the left.
No, I agree with that. But golly, how do they ever get their credibility back?
I don't think it matters at that point, because here's what Trump needs to do if he wins. When you have your daily White House press briefings, you no longer call on CBS, NBC, ABC, even Fox News after that tirade with John Roberts, who's your White House correspondent, and you start issuing press passes, White House press credentials to the more credible yet less mainstream media sources.
Yep.
Then you might see them pull back and become more of what they should be and the principles they were founded upon. Because until somebody calls their bluff and treats them like the spoiled child they are and says, it's akin to always giving that kid the cookie in the grocery store because they blow a fit.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving them the cookie in the grocery store and the behavior will probably change after 1 or 2 times.
No, I agree, and I'd like to see some sense of respect come back towards when you deal with the office, and and again, I know Trump doesn't do himself a lot of favors in a lot of areas, but I would argue he's more reactive than he is proactive as far as going after people and stuff. And I feel like if they would show a tad of respect to him in at least respect the office, I think it makes him harder for him to just launch on them and do stuff. And he counterpunches to me more than he leads off. And my wife, when she watches the deal, she has a hard time. She goes, they show no respect for the office. Even when she watched that town hall the other day, almost a debate, which it was, she's like, they talk to him so unprofessional. It's like it's a mark of courage or a badge of honor to yell at him, to interrupt him, to fact check him live and call him a liar to his face. And then she's touted for it instead of, like, I would never have somebody on my show and go after them like that. Or you would, if you brought me in here as a guest, you wouldn't yell at me and scream at me. And every time you ask me a question, no, you're wrong. I mean, I would never come back. This is ridiculous.
BJ Nelson asked if that's censoring as well, if he didn't call on them to ask questions. I guess you could see that, but you know what? The questions are still going to be asked by other media that aren't as confrontational, that aren't as serving as of an agenda.
Yeah, if you could ask somebody else and ask a legitimate question versus, why do you hate everybody so much? Yeah. Or why are you so orange? Or, something like that.
But don't get me wrong. I'm
You're not telling him to run from the media. You're not, but just if somebody wants to ask a real question and old John Costa, whatever his name is, going to be a turd, well, then ask the person to ask a legit question, even if they're not seeing it in just a little small. To me, this is a time for small reporters. Make a name. Be what a journalist is supposed to be.
But the president, let's be honest, also I think thrives and gets off on these exchanges with the media.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
as much as he'll blame the mainstream media and the fake news, he thrives on the negative attention that these things get.
Oh, no argument there. But he also thrives on positive. Like,
no, he does.
If people, look at North Korea. If you act like you're cool with him, he's not going to come and scorch earth to you. He's going to, you're cool. We're buddies. He talk nice about him. He'll talk nice about you to try to get stuff done.
Speaking of which, let's take a break, and then I don't know if you saw North Korea, some crazy stuff out of there last week, but we'll get to that because it was interesting, to say the least, from a ruthless dictator like Kim Jong-un. Razer IT Solutions, John Paul Hall can keep the North Koreans out of your computer business. The Russians, anybody trying to hack.
JP's got it. And he wears his headset super cool on here. I meant to do that. Like he wore his headsets all cool when he was on here. And yeah, he made me look bad. He was all just super cool looking.
But John Paul Hall at Razer IT Solutions can help your computer analytics make sense to you if you don't understand that. They can help you grow your online business and your presence. And they help
Facebook market all that crap. It's so hard.
I don't understand it, but we went from 60 YouTubers to almost 300 in a couple of weeks. JP. So he can get it done. The Atzenhofer dealerships, they've been getting it done since 1926, folks. Whether you need a new Chevrolet, a brand new Cadillac, a Mitsubishi, or a Mazda for the folks in Canada who are waking up to a blanket of snow this morning. But all your pre-owned, all your service, all your body shop work, it's your one-stop shop for everything you need, from buying a vehicle to servicing it throughout the life that you own it. So stop on by the Atzenhofer dealership right there on Navarro across from Veracruz. And don't forget White Trash Services, 550-1826. Scott and BJ Nelson have built a wonderful trash collection empire, and they're expanding. They're in 6 counties. They're in Rockport and Holiday Beach, and BJ's got some big news, and I'm sure she's going to share it with us as soon as the time allows. So
yeah, they're helping me out this week. Also, yeah, they're all helping me this week. All the sponsors, they're good, and they're awesome. Heard about them here, and they took care of me. They're going to.
So I don't know if you saw it last week. Like Kim Jong-un, the North Korean dictator. I don't know if he's a president, premier, whatever he calls himself. I don't even know.
Grand leader or something.
Something like that. Grand Poobah, Supreme leader.
Supreme leader, I think it is.
He had some weird video which a lot of people question whether it was even him, but from what I understand it was. He was like crying, apologizing. Did you see this?
Yes, I did, and it was odd because I was wondering if he was still alive because there was all that talk of his sister
His
taking
sister took
over,
over.
and yeah, all that stuff, and then he popped out and cried, and I'm curious to play on that. You know, I don't think anything is.
When has a dictator ever apologized to their people?
Yeah, no, something. Yeah, North Korea is an
And
odd
did the
one.
people even see this message? Was it made
Or was
just
it
for the
Western
West for
Mm.
propaganda purposes? Because
Have you ever watched any of the documentaries on North Korea? That's one of my wife and I. If we ever see a North Korean documentary, we'll watch it because it's weird. I mean, they'll take people through there. You know, you'll be approved to visit, and your whole visit is staged.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, every store, everything, even the people walking down the street, it's like you're on set of a giant film or
it's the
something.
same people walking by in a different set of gray
very
clothes.
weird, and you ask a different question, and people just stare. I don't think I'd take one of those trips to North Korea. That's just no, sir. Their documentaries are just fascinating because it's a weird place.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go there. I know my grandma always had worries when she went back to the Soviet Union to visit that maybe she wasn't going to get out.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, they're even
being
talking
originally
that
from
now
there.
with China. You know, we're going back and forth with China on things, and they were issuing warnings the other night that, you know, because we're arresting those people that are, you know, and I think there's a lot of those people that are deep inside these universities, and I think China's been playing chess for a long time when we've been playing checkers. You know, and I'm sure we have our own things, but yeah, the whole China's worried now. If you keep arresting our people, we're going to arrest your people over here. You know, we're all caught up in the elections, but there's all sorts of other things in play that people better keep their eye on the ball.
Well, they have been.
Yeah.
You know, they've been arresting people that are over there working for U.S. companies as accountants and whatever. Oh, you're a spy.
Yeah, things, you know, everybody's so caught up in a lot of stuff that I think is very arbitrary right now. And there's real stuff going on in the world, and we're worried about a 10-month-old or 10-month-old story that Jake Tapper pulled out that's false. You know, interesting times.
Yeah, you know what's go back and look at video clips of Joe Biden speaking or audio clips of Joe Biden speaking 20, 30 years ago. Where's the stutter that they claim he now has, that he's had for his whole life? It's not there.
Yep. No, and again, it just goes back to the whole shutting down. I mean, can you imagine if Trump came out with any? I mean, if the guy had a limp at one of his deals, they would run back-to-back coverage about how his leg is falling off and he's really going to die. And
they do. Do you remember the one time he got off the plane late and he's kind of walking in real slow, obviously worn out, tie was undone, not looking at all like he normally does, and they were quick to jump on him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, something's wrong with the president. He's that's not him.
Yeah. No, and this is what just takes me back. You know, we're starting our early voting has started, all this kind of stuff, and you know, it looks like we're going to see record numbers, all of this. But again, where do we go next? And that's the big question that I just can't seem to. I don't see how we come back. I don't, and that not because the American people don't want it, but I almost feel like the powers that be will just not allow it, no matter which way. It's not us that doesn't want the closure. It's not us that doesn't want to move forward. It's the powers that be that are just. I think this election is just going to be different.
I hate to use the term the swamp, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. And I don't. It feels like that they feel chided that the American public has the audacity to want some of their freedoms back and some of their. This is so pivotal to me. And where do we?
And to elect a Washington, D.C. outsider, even though, let's be honest, Trump may be an outsider politically, he was not an outsider from that crowd.
Right.
Invited to a lot of their shindigs, given a lot of the awards by those same folks.
And that's the thing is, I don't think Trump, I'm not saying Trump doesn't have his own set of problems, his own set of whatever, but I don't think he's a part of that swamp. And I think that's why both Republicans and Democrats will join forces against him, because he threatens their whole state of existence. He threatens crap like this with Biden and all the payoffs and all of them getting rich. Well, they go out and they fight on TV and they all go out to dinner and count their millions.
Yeah.
while we sit here and we argue about it and we fight in the streets while they're eating caviar and talking about how stupid we are behind closed
Yeah,
doors.
you just triggered my brain to something that hit me over the weekend when reading through the emails that Hunter Biden had sent to his daughter and others that got me to, the whole, he only paid $750 in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the taxes on Joe Biden, or where's the investigation on Joe Biden if the allegations made by Hunter Biden in his emails to his daughter when he told her that you don't have to worry, I will never take half your fortune like your grandfather did to me.
Well, no, they're too
Whoa.
They're too busy, impeaching Trump for asking about it. And that's that you can't ask about it, but it just, this is what I'm talking about. Like I don't understand. I just don't get it. Like
if every victim, if every accuser is in this time of accusers being believed,
mm-hmm.
why is Hunter Biden not being believed there? Is it because he's a crack addict and a meth head that you denounce? Wow, he's got some problems. Well, in several emails, he's alluded to the fact that Uncle Joe took half his money, and I said this on Friday, Uncle Joe or Hunter Biden was not the end game here.
Oh, no.
He was the beginning of the roadmap to Washington, D.C., and ultimately into the White House as vice president. It doesn't stop with Hunter Biden. It starts with Hunter Biden, and that's where the similarities to the Clinton Foundation are the same. The Bidens apparently weren't smart enough to set up a foundation to funnel their money through and close up shop when they don't win the election and walk away, wash their hands, and nobody says anything, but they keep living the lifestyle that they've led with $50 million in donations just disappearing.
And I think that's the swamp that they're protecting right here. Is this is the way it's always been done. That's why you'll never see a fair tax or a flat tax or any of those things, because all of these people that make their whole existence on bribing politicians in Washington would go away overnight, and all the politicians getting rich would go away overnight. And I don't, this is one of the first stories here recently that is actually a story that we actually have proof on, or at least it appears, there's no, and the crazy thing is I haven't heard any real denials of the evidence or this is untrue. It's, well, we didn't have an official meeting that day. That was a very carefully worded statement, and it doesn't even seem like they're disputing the truth on this thing. They're just pissed at or upset that it's covered and exposed, and so
what really bothers me is I don't care about the pictures of him smoking crack.
Yeah.
Those have nothing to do. That's a smoke screen to the deeper, bigger issues that are in the words of those emails. Because that would explain if Hunter Biden gets 1.5 billion from China,
billion,
or his equity firm gets it, and who knows where the money goes from there, split amongst, John Kerry's stepson and John Kerry's daughter, and who knows how many other Heinzes and others that are in there. But if Joe Biden's taken half of the money that non-qualified executive board member Hunter is taking, there's a lot of money that has gone unreported to the IRS, and Joe Biden.
I mean, that seems, of all the stories, the first criminal actual thing that we've actually seen some evidence on. Here we are 3 years later, almost 4 years later, still nothing on Russia. But yet this thing pops. What's the first thing they say?
Russia. Russia.
Yeah,
Russia had to be involved. Well, of course Russia was involved. Burisma was in the Ukraine. Hunter Biden got $3.5 million from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. Of course Russia's involved.
Yeah, and that's I guess at what point do you question things? Because I feel like I never just give Trump, despite what I'm told, I never give Trump a free pass. I question everything. I try to, and if he's wrong, I call it, because I don't care if somebody thinks I'm right. I want to stand in truth, and I want to make sure that, because eventually I'll be standing by myself. And if I'm wrong in my beliefs and whatever, then it doesn't matter what other people think. I was wrong, and
But if you're right and standing by yourself,
then you're ostracized nowadays. And I don't know. I would rather be right though and stand in truth, and that's and it's weird when you see people like, I don't even want to say her name wrong because I'll be erased, but Kamala Harris or however you say her name, every day she speaks the truth. And I it's weird because it's all just such a perversion of truth and an invert. And anyway,
it's amazing how quickly she came down with the COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I think did you see yesterday somebody they got out like 2 words to Joe Biden, a reporter, sort of the FBI, and he just turned around and walked off real fast. I mean, I think that dude's going to go on lockdown until the debate, if this debate happens, and I don't know. Tiffany just sent me a headline, Fox News 10 minutes ago. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced plans for mass vaccination sites all over the state on Sunday to disperse the impending corona vaccine promised by the president.
So, I mean, we got word that 2 weeks ago, I think on this show, we saw that there was a report from Crossroads Today that Victoria County was told to be ready for the vaccine in early November.
I wonder how much of that is it's hard to even.
Does that help or hurt the president?
I know,
when Governor Cuomo comes out with that.
Anything over there with the Cuomos makes me wonder. It really does. The fact that he's been proclaimed as the savior through all this, when majority of the deaths happened there, and then the simplest things of, well, what happened in the nursing homes, and it's covered up, and yet let's just go attack Texas and Florida. I don't get it. How long is our show today? We get 2 hours today?
Yeah,
we get a lot.
We could easily. We'll save some for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a long week.
Hey, if you want an escape, go check out the Facebook page of the Gray Barn and see the wonderful job Cheryl did with a wedding this past weekend. The design, the flowers, the transformation of what the owner called their ghetto backyard into something absolutely amazing and beautiful. Check out the pictures that are on the Gray Barn Facebook page and see the work that Cheryl did and can do for you if you have an event coming up.
You need to have her deck out an election party. Get her set up for that.
She could do it.
Yeah, I know she could. She's awesome. She is awesome.
But I was proud and amazed. I shouldn't be amazed because she's so talented, but to see
I feel you. They
backyard
every day. They blow me away. And Tiffany finds a new way to surprise me with her awesomeness every day.
Proud of the work that she did and the transformation of this wedding, and just turn the venue into an absolute phenomenal place to have a wedding. So much so that actually they were asked if they could have other people wanted to hold events in that backyard because she made it look so good.
You nailed it now.
So check them out on the Gray Barns Facebook page. Uncle Mutt's Barbecue. Busy weekend of weddings. Didn't want to cook. Went to Uncle Mutt's yesterday. Got the brisket, the cabbage, and the grilled potatoes.
Phenomenal. Barbecue without the mosquitoes.
Cheryl got the ribs, grilled potatoes, fried sweet corn. Oh, phenomenal. And the dining room is opening back up.
Yeah.
So not only can you get it through the drive-thru, you can actually go in and enjoy and sit down and enjoy what Uncle Mutt's has to offer and the ambiance.
Sometimes it's just nice to sit down in a restaurant and talk.
It really is, face to face.
Yeah, I'm missing that. It's about that time.
Face to face, but offset, so you're not speaking the COVID right into each other.
Right. Yeah. And of course 6 feet apart and with our mask on.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. Went Services for all your electrical needs, whether it's simple installation of a new outlet to installing a backup generator from all your favorite American brands. Went Services can get it done from start to finish, whether it's natural gas, whether it's propane. They've got solar panels now that can help store the energy as well. So give Went Services a call for all your electrical needs. I've used them, been very happy with the jobs they've done for me, and you will be too. Fair price, good work, and they stand behind what they do.
If some of this election fund kicks off and all that, you may want to have a generator if they still go the way that you're thinking. It'd be nice.
And don't forget USA Concrete Coatings, because when some of that stuff happens, your resurfaced sidewalks, patios, decks won't crack, won't peel.
Not after that. Not after USA Concrete.
And the blood and tissue will just wash right off.
Yeah, nice and easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Just need a good water hose.
Give Charlie Garcia a call at 578-HOME and let them do the work. Adam Dodger says the vaccine is the starting of the zombie apocalypse.
Well, we talked about that the other night, or just yesterday. The wife and I walking is, just running possible scenarios. And one of the things we were discussing that if Biden wins, how this would be a good opportunity where they come in with, well, the vaccine is mandatory. Everything is shut down. You can't go and go places by, not to go all crazy biblical, but, almost mark of the beast-ish in the sense of, if you don't get this vaccine, you can't shop, you can't buy, you can't go to school, you can't, and I'm not in a huge rush to take that thing. I'll be honest with you. Like I'm just not in a rush to take it. And so I'm one of those weird vaxxer. I'm not vaxxer, but I'm not in a rush to take it.
I'm not either, but if I needed to or had to, I probably would. I'm not so concerned. I'm more concerned of the fact the red tape that was in place prior to this that have allowed us to get from no vaccine to human clinical trials of a vaccine within 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And see, I don't take the flu shot now and haven't for the last 10 years. And I know a lot of people are going to yell at me and get mad at me for that, but I haven't. And so my hesitance is not necessarily because I would be hesitant with a vaccine, period. And then you got your 6-month vaccine on something that we still don't really know what, I don't feel like they've got a firm grasp on exactly what this is yet. And we have a vaccine,
coronavirus that they haven't been able to figure out how to combat.
And it's mutating and all these things. And so
Christina Wise says that what she sees happening is that you will not be able to travel without it.
Yeah, I mean, what an easy way to just shut down everything, and that was my deals. I used to think that if Biden, is that 758 or 3?
753.
753. I used to think that if Biden got in, that his whole plan would instantly COVID would be solved the next day. But now I think the opposite. I think they'll go back in and shut everything down, because then you get rid of the middle class and their opposition to everything, and it's a hard. I mean, they're halfway to socialism anyway if they can knock out small businesses.
Well, a lot of talk about the ACA and it's not going anywhere, folks. I hate to say it. The Supreme Court has withheld portions of the Affordable Health Care Act or Affordable Care Act that they couldn't remove. The parts that they could, President Trump has gotten rid of. But it's interesting now because some on the left have started to do their homework and others just share it. They don't have no idea who this guy is. But Tommy Douglas is starting to become a bit more of a poster child. And when I say that, there's memes of him starting to be shared with his quotes because he's the father of socialized medicine in Canada. What they don't tell you is when socialized medicine in Canada was implemented, Canada's population was at a point and the taxes were at a point where it was sustainable. But as you start funding more government programs, healthcare in Canada has gotten to a point where it's no longer sustainable. You may not, they don't call them death panels, but you definitely have waiting lists or priority lists on who gets what. But they're starting to invoke Tommy Douglas. And he was a little known, I believe, a former preacher, maybe out of Saskatchewan. I've got to brush up on my Canadian history. But he was elected, never rose to prime minister, but is the father of socialized medicine in Canada. If you want to do a little history on Tommy Douglas, but the left is starting to pull him out of their annals of history
and lift
to
him
make
up
their case
as the champion.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, I mean, it's still not all that awesome and it's still not all that great. And I can't find an example where it's working beautifully and they always just, well, we'll get it right. That's just because they haven't done it right. Well,
in the 80s and 90s, doctors fled Canada for the US because the throttles of the government, or the government had their foot or their hand on the throttle so bad that doctors couldn't make a living. They get all the way through medical school and the government was giving them, I'm just throwing a number out there, $30 on every, 30 cents on every dollar. You've invested hundreds of thousands into your education, maybe more than that, maybe millions when you talk about your practice and the equipment you need and the office space and the renovations and everything. They couldn't get it back. They fled down here because the free market allowed them to survive. There was a shortage of doctors down here, so they were welcomed in under immigration laws.
Well, see, and that's why I'm such a huge free market guy. I mean, when this whole ACA thing started happening and all this, as I do with most things, I ask the experts. Every time I went to a doctor, hey, what do you think about the ACA? And literally every single one of them is going to destroy the medical field. I never had a single doctor say, oh, it's a great thing. This is awesome. It's going to shut down my practice. It's going to, and we just ignore all that. And then instead, let's do a politician tell us how awesome it's going to be when all the doctors tell us it's going to destroy everything, and same thing with all these dumb things in law enforcement. No more chokeholds. Chokeholds are a great thing if they're applied correctly because you can neutralize your enemy or the suspect quickly.
There's a lot of other holds that would work.
Yeah,
just
you take away chokehold, it's like, what are they supposed to do now? Now they have to hit them with a nightstick. Now they have to hit them with a baton or shoot them or, because you've taken away their tools. Anyway, we always listen to the politicians, but never the experts.
Christina Wise says socialized medicine reminds her of military/VA medicine, very much so.
And that's always fun.
And knowing people who have tried to peruse the VA system and the frustration, you think it's bad now when your insurance company says, well, you got to try this before we can do this, even though everybody knows that, you're at step A and they want you to go through step B, C, D, E, and F before you get to G. When everybody knows G is where you need to be.
Well, an A and F through military is usually Motrin. Like they give you Motrin,
and
military strength Motrin, and that's vitamin M for everything.
And there you go. My wife transit nurses fled to this country as well because there were no jobs for them. Because when budgets get tight, nurses and doctors were the first to suffer. That's where they cut back on. So now you've got one nurse handling twice as many patients
less money
than they should.
Yeah.
Christine always call it Ranger candy.
That's pretty good. Yeah, no, and again, that's why I'm just always such a fan of the free market. That's why, and I know the show's rapid, but that's even at smaller levels when I start hearing how, you mentioned downtown earlier, and the city's going to get involved. They're going to do this and they're going to do that. Well, okay, I don't think that's good because if you're competing against the free market, your hand in government is where you press on the scale on this side is affecting somebody else on the other side. And I just don't like it. I know the intentions are good. I get it, but I don't like the government picking and choosing winners and trying to, because this is what somebody ultimately gets hurt.
Well, yeah, I mean,
with their own
consequence is somebody's got to be a loser.
Mm-hmm. And they're financing somebody else to be that loser. And that's what I don't like about it, So anyway, right there at the end of the show, take you down a whole nother rabbit hole.
We didn't even get to some of the things we were going to talk about today, but
I'm glad we got a few extra days because we're going to.
Yeah, we got lots to talk about.
And I'm sure the news is not going to give us anything these next couple of days either. So nice slow week, I'm sure.
James Kerr says, I fast-tracked a surgery that I needed in 1 to 2 weeks down to 4 weeks. And it would have taken months in the VA system if he sat back and waited without standing on someone's desk.
Yeah,
There's a problem right there. And I could detail a lot of it. And I know it's anecdotal, but my grandma, as she aged, had issues, and the government in Canada just kept putting the things past her because, well, somebody else who's more worthy needs it.
Yep. And that, my friends, is socialistic medicine. Doesn't work.
No.
Doesn't work. Man, we hit the end, didn't we?
Yeah. To wrap it all up, my frustration with all the stuff with the social media and this Hunter Biden stuff, the timing is such that it isn't going to make a difference. If some of the social media stuff and actions would have been taken 3 years ago, we might have seen a change prior to this election. 15 days out.
Well, truth be told, I think even if they didn't censor it, even if it whatever, I don't think it would matter. I really, because like I said, I asked a few of my friends and fake news, don't care. And they don't, and doesn't matter one bit and it won't, period.
probably hurt themselves more censoring the New York Post story than letting it go.
Yeah, they got more eyes on it for sure. Because most of the people, like exactly like what we just said, they would have ignored it. Who cares? Not true. Phone provided.
Yeah.
Fun.
All right, folks, we're out here. We'll be back tomorrow.
See you.
Kayla will be back. We'll pick up where we left off.